I'm Lucas, 29M. 5 years ago, my parents passed away in a car accident, leaving behind a modest house and some savings. I've managed those funds carefully while supporting my extended family, Aunt Karen, 52F, Uncle Kevin, 54M, and my cousins Brock, 27M, and Marcos, 25M. What they don't know is that I've been the one keeping them afloat financially through a trust my parents set up. Yesterday was supposed to be a regular Sunday dinner at Aunt Karen's house. Everyone gathered around the dining table, the same one my parents had bought them years ago. I brought a homemade lasagna, using my mom's recipe. As I walked in, I caught the tail end of Aunt Karen's conversation with Marcos about his new AirPods Pro. "At least someone in this family knows how to treat themselves," she said, shooting me a look. I ignored it like always. The dig was obvious. I drive a 2012 Toyota, live in a modest apartment, and keep a simple lifestyle, not because I'm broke, but because my parents taught me the value of money. Meanwhile, I cover 70% of their mortgage, though they think the money comes from a government assistance program. Dinner started normally enough. Uncle Kevin bragged about his golf club membership, which I secretly pay for, and Brock showed off his new smartwatch. Then came the moment that broke me. "Lucas, honey," Aunt Karen started, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "don't you think it's time you got yourself a better car? I mean, that old thing of yours, what will people think? Your father always knew how to present himself." I took a bite of lasagna, staying quiet. The same lasagna she had just praised minutes earlier, assuming I couldn't afford good food. Marcos chimed in. "Not everyone can afford nice things. Lucas is doing his best." The condescension in his voice made my stomach turn. This, coming from the guy whose car payments I've been covering for 3 years. Then came the kicker. They started discussing their upcoming family vacation to Florida, a trip they hadn't bothered to invite me on. As I sat there silently eating, I knew the credit card they booked it on was paid through the family trust one manage. "We need this getaway," Uncle Kevin announced. "Some of us work hard enough to deserve nice things." He clinked glasses with Brock, both smirking in my direction. I maintained my composure, but something in me shifted when Aunt Karen spoke next. "You know, Lucas, you'll always be a worthless nobody, like your father was before he got lucky in his career. At least he figured it out eventually. You? I'm not so sure." The room went quiet. Even my cousins looked uncomfortable. They didn't agree with her, but they didn't defend me either. My father had built everything from scratch. He wasn't lucky, he was smart and hardworking. He taught me everything I know about managing money and helping family. I stood up calmly, cleaned my plate, and said I had work in the morning. As I was leaving, I heard them laughing. Aunt Karen's voice carried, "Maybe we should start a GoFundMe for poor Lucas." More laughter. They didn't see me stop in the hallway. They didn't see me take out my phone and open my banking app. They didn't see me start making calls to my financial advisor. First thing this morning, they had no idea what was coming. I've been patient for 5 years, watching them waste money while mocking my supposed poverty, playing the role of the struggling nephew while secretly keeping their lifestyle afloat. But yesterday, something snapped. Not in an angry way. In a calm, clear way. I know exactly what I need to do. This morning, I went through all the financial records. I knew the numbers, but after Aunt Karen's worthless nobody comment, seeing them laid out hit differently. Their 4-bedroom house? I cover 70% of the $2,200 monthly mortgage. That's $1,540 every month, directly from the trust. They think it's some government assistance for accident victims and have never questioned it. Uncle Kevin's precious golf club membership? $250 a month. Business expenses for a business that doesn't exist. Brock's 2020 Jeep? $485 monthly payment. Marcos's 2021 Honda? $425. Both covered by the trust. They think the money comes from an insurance payout. Then this morning, I saw Aunt Karen's Instagram post with photos of their upcoming Florida trip. The caption read, "Some people know how to live life right. #blessed #family vacation." The comments were even worse. Marcos. "Can't wait. Too bad cousin Lucas can't afford to join us." Aunt Karen. "Some people just don't know how to manage money, honey." Brock. Maybe he should learn to invest like Dad. The vacation they were mocking me about? $4,800 charged to the family credit card, the one I pay for. This afternoon, I dropped off some documents at their house. Nobody was home, but I have a key. As I was leaving them in Uncle Kevin's study, I noticed some printed emails on his desk. They're planning a huge Labor Day barbecue. Everyone in the neighborhood is invited. Except me. The email chain was something else. Karen, we can't have Lucas there. His old car and cheap clothes will embarrass us in front of the Johnsons. Kevin agreed. Tell him we're keeping it small this year. Brock, Dad, that's kind of harsh. Kevin, life's harsh. He needs to learn to do better for himself. Next to these emails were quotes for a $155,000 kitchen renovation they're planning. Guess who they expect to fund it? I sat in my car for a while after seeing those emails. Not sad. Just done. Completely done. I called my financial advisor again and spent 2 hours reviewing every account and transaction from the past 5 years. The numbers are staggering. House payments, $92,400. Car payments, $43,750. Various credit cards, $68,000. Emergency expenses, $31,200. Utilities and bills, $28,800. Total, $264,800. That's what my poor lifestyle has paid for while I've been living in my $1,200 apartment, driving my paid-off Toyota, and getting mocked for being bad with money. The real kicker came tonight. My cousin Marcos texted me. Hey cuz, hate to ask, but could you spot me $50 for gas? Tight until payday. I know things are rough for you, but maybe you have a little spare? I looked at his Instagram while the text sat there. 2 hours ago, he posted a story showing off his new $400 gaming headset. They have no idea what's coming. I didn't respond. Instead, I made some calls and set things in motion. The trust that's been funding their lifestyle isn't as simple as just cutting them off, but there are legal ways, properly documented ways. They think I'm a pushover, the family disappointment, the broke cousin who can't manage money. That's fine. Let them think that for a few more days. I have all the documentation, every payment, every transfer, every receipt. 5 years of meticulously kept records. My parents taught me well, even if Aunt Karen thinks they just got lucky. Tomorrow I start phase 1. These past 48 hours have been intense. Everything is now in place, but let me tell you what happened at what will probably be our last family dinner. After my last decision, I spent days preparing everything, met with my financial advisor, documented every payment, and set up a clear exit strategy. But then Aunt Karen called, insisting I come to dinner. They needed to discuss something important. I knew exactly what I was walking into, but I went anyway. Time to see their true colors one last time. I arrived at 6 sharp. The first thing I noticed, Aunt Karen's new granite countertops being installed. The workers were just finishing up. That $155,000 kitchen renovation? Apparently, they decided to start early with my money, of course. Lucas. Aunt Karen beamed with fake enthusiasm. Don't mind the mess, we're just doing a little upgrading. You know how it is, well, maybe you don't. I nodded and walked in. The whole family was there, dressed up like it was a formal occasion. Brock was showing off his new smartwatch to Marcos, who kept glancing at me with this weird mix of pity and superiority. Then Uncle Kevin pulled me aside before dinner. Listen, sport, we need to have a serious talk about your future. Your attitude is bringing down the family's image. The audacity of this man, wearing the golf club polo I paid for, telling me about image. Dinner started tense. They'd ordered expensive takeout, on the family credit card, naturally. Then Aunt Karen cleared her throat and dropped their bomb. Lucas, honey, we've been talking as a family. She paused, savoring the moment. We think it's best if you skip the Labor Day barbecue and maybe future gatherings too until you improve your situation. Brock at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Marcos just kept eating. The Johnsons are coming, Uncle Kevin added, and their daughter just bought a house. We can't have you showing up in that car, wearing those clothes. It reflects poorly on us. I took another bite of my food I was technically paying for, and waited. Aunt Karen continued, getting worked up. Your constant reminder of your financial struggles is just bringing everyone down. Maybe if you'd listened to your uncle about investments. That's when I interrupted. Which investments would those be, Aunt Karen? She stuttered. Well, Kevin, tell him about your investments. Uncle Kevin puffed up. My golf club membership has excellent networking opportunities. That's how investing works, boy. But you wouldn't understand that, living like you do. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. Those networking opportunities, they wouldn't happen to be the ones I've been paying $250 a month for, would they? The room went silent. What are you talking about? Aunt Karen snapped. I smiled. Let's talk numbers, shall we? Would you like to start with the mortgage, the cars, or the credit cards? Marcos laughed nervously. What's he talking about, Mom? Aunt Karen, obviously confused, rushed to explain. The house payments come from the government assistance program after his parents. There is no government program, I said calmly. There never was. It's all been me, through the trust my parents set up. Every single payment. Uncle Kevin stood up, face red. Now you listen here. No. I cut him off. You listen. For 5 years, I've paid your mortgage, your cars, your bills, your golf club membership, your vacations. Everything. Brock dropped his fork. That's not. Mom, what's he talking about? Aunt Karen's face went from red to white. You're lying. You can barely afford gas for that trash car of yours. I started showing them screenshots. Bank statements, transfer records, everything. The Florida vacation you're planning? Already canceled. The kitchen renovation? Hope you got a good deposit deal. The Labor Day barbecue? Might want to scale that down. They exploded. Screaming, denying, threatening. Aunt Karen knocked over her wine glass, staining her new tablecloth red. Uncle Kevin kept yelling about lawyers. Marcos just kept repeating, "This isn't funny, man." I stayed seated, kept eating, let them tire themselves out. Finally, when they quieted down, I stood up. Check your emails tomorrow morning, all of you. Everything will be explained in detail, including the 60-day notice for new payment arrangements. Aunt Karen lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You can't do this to us. We're family. Family? I pulled my arm away. Family doesn't call family worthless. Family doesn't exclude family from gatherings. Family doesn't mock family for being broke while secretly living off their money. I walked to the door, turned back one last time. By the way, that trash car of mine? Fully paid off. Unlike your cars, your house, or anything else you own. I left them standing there, screaming and crying. Got in my car, drove home. Their phones have been blowing up my phone ever since. Threats, begging, promises to change. Too late. Everything is prepared. Documents are ready. Lawyers are on standby. Tomorrow morning, they get the official notices. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, the emails went out. Every payment, every transfer, every bill I've covered for the past 5 years, laid out in detail. Official notice. Financial support ends in 60 days. I turned off my phone, grabbed coffee. When I turned it back on 2 hours later, 47 missed calls, 156 texts, 13 voicemails, 28 Facebook messages, 16 emails. Aunt Karen showed up first, pounding on my door. Lucas, open this door right now. You can't do this to us. She barged in, waving her phone. This is a joke, right? No joke, I said calmly. You have 60 days to arrange new financing. We'll be ruined, she shrieked. How could you do this to family? I laughed. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about calling me worthless, excluding me from gatherings, mocking my lifestyle while living off my money. She switched tactics. Crying. Trying to hug me. We didn't know. We're sorry. We can change. No, Aunt Karen. You can't. The trust dissolves in 60 days. Everything stops. The mortgage, the car payments, the credit cards. All of it. Uncle Kevin burst in, red-faced, veins popping. You ungrateful little. He stepped toward me. One more step, I said, and I call the police. Then the payment stopped today instead of in 60 days. He froze. Marcos panicked. My car. What about my car? You have 60 days to refinance or return it, I replied. Not my problem anymore. But I just quit my job last week, he screamed. I was going to take time to find myself. Better start looking fast. Aunt Karen made one last attempt. Your parents would be ashamed of you. I walked to my bedroom, came back with a folder. Inside, letters from my parents detailing exactly how the trust should be used. Not for golf memberships and luxury vacations. My parents taught me the value of money. They worked hard for everything they had. They'd be ashamed of you, not me. That broke her. The aftermath came fast. The kitchen renovation canceled. Uncle Kevin's golf club membership revoked. Marcos frantically job hunting. Brock, to his credit, apologized and asked for budgeting advice. And me? I moved into my parents' old house. Paid for. No mortgage. Yesterday, I drove past Aunt Karen's house. The fancy granite countertops were being removed. The check bounced. She didn't wave. Their social media? Suddenly very quiet. The trust dissolves in 58 days. Good luck to them. I'm done. Not angry. Just done. My parents worked too hard for their money to watch it wasted like this. I'm going to honor them by living within my means and helping those who genuinely need it. Going forward, I'm using the trust money to set up a small scholarship fund for local kids. My parents would have liked that. Oh, and that Toyota they mocked? Just had it detailed. Runs perfect.